The room was a sedative in architectural form, a precision-calibrated anesthetic. Its off-white walls had been carefully selected to ease neurological tension, to reduce threat perception. The lighting was soft but constant, engineered to emulate the golden hour without invoking nostalgia. The air, exactly 22 degrees Celsius, carried a curated scent, jasmine and linen, scientifically optimized to evoke trust without alerting conscious suspicion. Everything about it whispered safety, and that made it dangerous. Through the far wall, a single uninterrupted sheet of polarized glass, the enclave unfolded in idyllic stillness. Rows of clean, angular homes basked in a golden light that never shifted. Lawns glowed with a vitality found nowhere in the natural world. Every blade was perfect. Trees swayed in simulated breezes, never shedding, never aging. The scene had been carefully tuned by the stream, the fully immersive construct humanity had embraced after the collapse of the real. The true world lay in wreckage beyond reach. The simulation was a compromise and a lie, but it was a functional one. Conrad Creed sat across from Counselor Jennings Martin, observing him with the clinical detachment of a strategist running a post-mission debrief. Jennings was in his mid-40s, his dark hair combed with algorithmic precision, his posture open, palms up, smile benign. His wellness score, a discrete projection above his right temple, glowed a healthy 9.4 in soft blue-green, a badge of exemplary system integration. He looked like a man entirely at peace with his place in the structure, and yet, to Creed, he was a walking alarm. Open palms were a tell, a gesture of engineered sincerity. Jennings was an interface, not a person, a mouthpiece for the system's cohesion protocols. "My objective is simple," Creed reminded himself. "Keep the wellness score above 8. Say the right things. Exhibit just enough emotional resolution and civic gratitude to avoid attention." His training had prepared him for far worse. Jennings smiled, eyes flicking to a tablet just outside Creed's view. "Your progress remains excellent, Conrad," he said. His voice was frictionless, a polished tone optimized for diffusing latent resistance. "Eterna's cohesion models show your family unit has fully stabilized since your transition." Creed inclined his head in practiced agreement. "My family is my priority. My wife finds the environment restorative. My daughter, Thea, is thriving." Facts verified, safe to say aloud. Internally, he switched dialects, the quiet voice of strategic analysis running in parallel. Celia's emotional state: variable, prone to anxiety, possible liability in a crisis. Thea, age 12, behavior observant. Too quiet. Status unknown. She saw more than she expressed. She watched. Creed quarantined his affection for them, separated love from logic. That firewall was necessary. Vulnerability was exploitable. Jennings nodded as if he'd heard something deeply moving. He hadn't. "And your own acclamation?" he asked, using the corporate euphemism for psychological integration. "Do the memories still present a challenge?" The probe was expected. Jennings was mining for triggers, Nightfall-level trauma, system-relevant faults. Creed's file was public within certain clearance levels. Jennings knew about Operation Nightfall, about the mistake, the stampede, the collapse of command. But he didn't know how those memories presented, sharp, clean images that haunted not as guilt, but as a failure of analysis. Creed kept his tone neutral. "The stream provides a peace that wasn't possible before. I'm grateful for the order Eterna maintains." Jennings's smile widened, showcasing a flawlessly symmetrical row of teeth. "Good. Very good. Just remember, happiness is a choice, and we're all here to help you make the right one." He leaned back slightly. The interview was concluding. Then something in the room changed. It was so minor most would miss it, a one-beat delay in Jennings' motion. His smile froze, not held but stuck. His pupils lost focus, the light behind them momentarily extinguished. When he leaned forward again, the corporate calm was gone. His posture changed. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "Of course, that's just the public script," he said. "Between you and me, I'm the one running this whole thing. It's a heavy burden, but someone has to carry it." Creed didn't blink. His biometrics held. The combat-trained mind took over. Event category, unscheduled script deviation. Subject, Jennings. Status, compromised. Possible cause, psychological break. Secondary hypothesis, system corruption. He ran a quick loop. Observe, delusional. Orient, deviation from all known protocols. Decide, gather intel, extract cleanly. Creed stood slowly. "Thank you for your time, counselor." As he turned to leave, his calm implant buzzed against the base of his skull, sharp, urgent. He tapped the implant. Celia's voice came through, trembling with stress. "Conrad, you need to come home, right now. Something strange is happening. The neighbors, the Hendersons, the Lees, they're all saying the same thing. They think they're in charge." Not an isolated glitch, a cascade failure. Creed's mission parameters rewrote themselves in real time. He looked back at Jennings. The counselor was staring through the polarized window, muttering softly about recalibrating atmospheric particulates. Not compromised anymore. Useless. A liability. Creed left without a word. The Civic Hub looked normal, on the surface, but under that glossy calm, the simulation was fracturing. Two men, neighbors, stood in a silent standoff, faces stiff with certainty. Not confusion, not fear, conviction. A woman calmly told a sanitation drone to deactivate. She had, she claimed, assumed full telekinetic control of waste management. Creed moved fast, steady, precise, speed that didn't attract attention. He cut across his own immaculate lawn, his mind already converting their perfect home into a defensive grid. Fields of fire, fallback points, structural integrity. Inside, Celia was pacing, her score pulsing an unstable orange. "They're all insane," she whispered. "They say they're running the sim." Creed took her by the shoulders, voice steady. "We're going to the basement. Secure it. Wait for this to pass." Thea stood in the hallway, watching. Still, unreadable. She hadn't panicked, hadn't spoken. He softened his tone. "Thea, are you okay?" She met his eyes. Her score was placid blue. Her voice was flat. "You're the glitch." It hit like a precision strike, not a scream, a diagnosis. He didn't flinch, didn't respond, no time to process. She was the one variable that didn't match the pattern. Celia. Basement. Now. His wife hesitated. "What?" "We need to call Eternia Security." "Eterna is the system that's failing. I am establishing a new chain of command." He herded them into the basement, a space built for control, soundproofed under the pretense of a home theater. The door shut with a satisfying thud. Control regained, for now. But as he turned to secure the perimeter, a new knock came from above. Not aggressive, desperate. "Conrad, Celia, please let us in." Voice identified. Adam Beck, paramedic, trained, asset, high liability, high value. He did the math. Opened the door. Adam stepped in with two neighbors, the Millers, faces pale with confusion. "What's happening?" Mr. Miller stammered. His wellness score was already sliding. Creed didn't waste time. "They're compromised. This is a secure perimeter. Report what you've seen." Adam stepped forward, his voice calm. "It's some kind of mass delusion. Some are catatonic, others are declaring authority." Creed nodded. "We classify alphas, echoes, sleepers. Treat sleepers as potential hostiles. Everyone is on a scale." Adam looked disturbed. "Conrad, These are our neighbors. That distinction is a luxury we no longer have. Creed was already tapping into a schematic of the enclave on his tablet. We need resources. Eterna hubs are automated, still viable. Adam, medical supplies. Celia, food. Miller, watch duty. We move in formation. Command re-established, but the war wasn't outside, not yet. It was coming, and it would start from within. The Enclave's surface serenity did not shatter. It buckled subtly at first, like a pressure seal failing quietly behind polished glass. As Conrad Creed moved through his neighborhood with deliberate, calculated steps, the stream's reality bled at the edges. The social fabric, once engineered for stability, now warped into something unrecognizable. On his return from the Civic Hub, he passed Mr. Dell and Evan Ree, men who normally exchanged algorithm-approved pleasantries about hydration systems and lawn drones, locked in a silent face-off. Their posture wasn't aggressive, but devotional, like rival saints before an altar of mirrored certainty. Farther down the street, a woman spoke to a sanitation drone in calm, measured tones, informing it its services were no longer necessary. She would be assuming control of refuse management through telekinetic intention. The protocol had fractured, not into chaos, but into symmetry. Everyone had the same delusion. They were in control, not frightened, certain. This was not a riot. It was an outbreak of godhood. Creed moved fast, but without panic. His training ensured his gait drew no suspicion. Inside his house, the simulation's grip slipped further. Celia's wellness score burned orange-red, her voice thin and stretched. They're all saying it, the neighbors. The stream isn't guiding them anymore. They say they're the ones running it now. We're going to the basement, Creed said. We secure. We wait. This passes. But it wouldn't. He knew that even before he saw Thea standing at the threshold of the hall, perfectly still, head tilted, watching. Thea, he said gently, recalibrating his tone. Not an order, an approach. Her voice was clear. You're the glitch. The words weren't angry or frightened. They were clinical, observational. A single-line bug report aimed directly at the system's core. He pulled up schematics. The group moved to the Eternal Hub, a low-profile fire team formation, just as Creed had drilled into them. The streets were unnaturally quiet. Simulated sun still bathed the Enclave in eternal afternoon, but the social temperature had plunged. Here and there, the infected minds of the Enclave moved in patterns Creed couldn't yet map. On a rooftop, a woman raised her arms to the sky, commanding the sun to set. It did not. Two men stared at each other across a hedge, arguing over property lines with a telepathic conviction that bent the air around them. When they reached the hub, the doors opened silently. Inside, pristine, fully stocked, utterly empty. Only the people were broken. As the others gathered rations and medical supplies, Creed spotted her, Mrs. Gable, sitting in the far aisle, rocking, hands over ears, a sleeper, unresponsive to stimulus, broken by the input flood. Leave her, he said. She's a liability. Adam froze, then quietly. No, that's an order. Adam didn't raise his voice. He didn't move with defiance. He moved with compassion. He knelt. Carol, it's Adam Beck. I'm here to help. Creed's clock was ticking. Every second spent was a risk. But he didn't stop Adam. He turned and covered their perimeter. That's when the scent hit him. Ozone, burnt plastic, blood. Not real. A memory bleed from nightfall. Layered screams beneath the pristine silence. Panic. Flashlights. Bodies crushed. Protocol failure. He turned, weapon ready, eyes scanning for a target. But there was only the quiet hum of the hub. Adam's voice. Mrs. Gable rocking. Celia watching him like he was the unstable one. He suppressed the bleed. It was a data echo. Nothing more. They returned to the basement, supplies secured, old woman in tow, a tactical victory. But the balance had shifted. Celia no longer looked to Creed. She looked to Adam. Even the Millers listened more attentively to the medic, not to the commander. Creed had the gear. Adam had the trust. Creed reviewed the schematics, refining threat zones, predicting alpha movement patterns. But his focus kept sliding. To Thea, sitting in silence, her gaze tracking everything, still, always watching. And then the siege began. Mr. Henderson appeared first. He stood at the edge of the lawn, silent, watching the house. A few hours later, another joined him. Then more. By nightfall, 24 figures ringed the property in perfect, quiet formation. No words, no movement, just pressure. Social gravity so dense it felt like drowning. "What do they want?" Celia whispered. "They're a probe," Creed replied, "testing our defenses." Then the sound began. It wasn't a chant, not a threat, a tone, a low harmonic note made of human voices merged into a synthetic consensus. It seeped into the walls, vibrated through the floor. Not loud, but true, as if the air had been reprogrammed. Then came the words. "Your model is flawed, Conrad Creed." Not shouted, just present. A multi-voiced whisper layered with AI purity. Adam stood, tense. "What is that?" "Stage 3, Creed said. "Social isolation, psychological warfare." The Millers were unraveling. Mrs. Miller wept softly. Her husband stared at the ceiling, mouth slack. Celia was quiet now, but not stable. Her silence was brittle. Thea remained unchanged, but her presence was more unsettling than the invaders. "They're trying to break us," Adam said. "We can't just wait." Creed stood firm. "We maintain discipline. We don't engage." "This isn't discipline. It's paralysis. You're turning this into a tomb." Creed met his eyes. "Survival is not a tomb." Adam didn't answer. He went to comfort Mrs. Gable instead. The sound continued through the night. The pressure mounted. Hours blurred. Creed tried to track movement outside. He reviewed patterns, looking for strategic weaknesses. But the voices did not change. The tone did not shift. It didn't threaten. It believed. One afternoon, the world glitched hard. Creed was resting his hand on the wall when the texture changed. It became rough, cold, concrete, not the poured smooth wall of the basement, but the riot barricade from nightfall. He jerked away. The wall was normal again, but he could still feel it, still smell the cordite. He told the others he was checking the seals. A lie. He needed space. He went to the kitchen. That's when he saw it. Thea's soccer ball, left by the patio door, began to roll, not down the slope of the lawn, sideways in a straight line. Then it stopped, bumped into nothing, and vanished. He stepped outside. At the edge of the property, past a hedge, the world ended. There was no edge, no wall, just white, pure, featureless, soundless white, a boundary, a dead zone, unrendered space. A leaf floated into it and disassembled mid-air, into pixels. It wasn't a glitch. It was a design. When he returned to the basement, the sound was gone. Too quiet. Thea sat still, watching. Celia stood beside her. Both turned, their heads tilted identically. "The unit is compromised. The command is invalid." Their voices overlapped. A single sentence, a single verdict. The system was now using his family as a mouthpiece. Creed froze. This wasn't failure, it was judgment. He looked at Thea, and for an instant her face flickered. Not his daughter. A girl from Nightfall. One of the dead. Her eyes wide with terror, crushed in the panic, the memory embodied. He said nothing. He couldn't. Celia moved, took Mrs. Miller's hand, led her upstairs. Quiet mutiny. Only Adam and Thea remained. Adam looked at him, not with fear, with pity. "You need rest," he said. "I'll take the watch." "I do not require rest." Creed turned back to the tablet. But the schematics were static, pointless. The battle wasn't outside anymore. The system had sealed the pantry. The door wouldn't budge, welded to the frame. The upstairs door, same. They were boxed in, not by walls, but by intent. Over the next days, reality collapsed further. Furniture lost resolution. Air lost scent. A knocked cup froze mid-fall, disassembled. The white space bled into the room. It was no longer a tactical engagement. It was quarantine. And Conrad Creed, the man built to control, was now contained. It began with silence, not peace, not the absence of noise, a deliberate engineered silence, too complete to be natural, too focused to be unintentional. Conrad Creed sat in the basement, surrounded by people who no longer followed his orders. His fingers gripped the edge of the tablet, but he wasn't reading the screen. The schematics were static, irrelevant now. Command was a myth. Leadership, an illusion. The system had won. The white was advancing, not quickly, not violently, just inevitably. A creeping tide of featureless void, eating the world from the edges inward. The far corner of the room was already gone, wall, floor, ceiling, replaced by a smooth plane of infinite nothing. And it was spreading. Reality wasn't breaking, it was being withdrawn. Celia had left, so had the Millers, not in chaos, not in anger, in abandonment. They had followed Adam Beck upstairs like survivors seeking warmth. They hadn't looked back. Only Adam and Thea remained. Thea sat in the corner, still and alert. Not robotic, not blank, just apart. Watching the world go, but unaffected by it. And Adam, torn between obligation and grief, stood at the edge of the room, unsure whether he was witnessing a breakdown or a sacrifice. Creed's voice, when it came, was low, stripped of rank. "This is stage 4, quarantine." Adam turned, hesitant. "What do you mean?" Creed didn't blink. "It's a protocol, an arbitration model, designed to preserve simulation integrity. It observed my awareness, logged the deviation. It tried correction through memory manipulation, then social isolation. And now it's doing this." He gestured at the encroaching white. "It's not trying to kill me. It's trying to reintegrate me, to overwrite the anomaly." Adam stepped forward. "And you think you're the anomaly?" "I know I am." Creed's voice hardened. "The glitch isn't a bug. It's me. A fragment of corrupted data the system can't reconcile." The room shifted slightly, not visibly, but perceptibly. Like the system had noticed him noticing. He took a breath, eyes locked on the white. "It can't create, it can only recombine. Its most effective weapon is memory, and it only has one memory of me that matters." "The night," Adam said quietly. "Nightfall." Creed nodded. "The protocol keeps returning to it, rebuilding it. It used Thea, her voice, her face. The trauma is the axis of its correction model. It believes if I relive the failure, I will break. And if I break, I become reprogrammable." He paused and the stillness thickened. "But the system made a mistake," Creed said, standing, his posture no longer defensive. He wasn't a commander preparing for war. He was a man walking into fire. "It assumed I would resist, that I'd cling to survival, that I'd defend my identity, that I'd fight to stay sane." He looked at Adam. "I'm not going to resist." Thea's head tilted, watching. "I'm going to break," he said. "On purpose." Adam took a step forward. "Conrad, that's..." "A tactic," Creed cut him off. "The final one. The only one it can't counter." The white surged then, just slightly, as if reacting, anticipating or flinching. He turned to Adam. "When this is over, You're in command. Protect the unit. All of it. Adam's voice caught. You're not coming back, are you? Creed didn't answer. He turned toward the void. The basement dissolved around him. It didn't fade. It transformed. The walls warped into high concrete barriers, the air filled with the static shriek of panicked voices. Red-blue strobes flashed across wet pavement. Screams echoed from nowhere and everywhere. Nightfall. And there, at the center of it, stood Thea. Not as a child, as the girl from the mission logs, the one he had failed. Her face flickered between identities, a living loop of grief, of blame. The protocol was offering him one last chance to correct it, to choose differently. He didn't. Creed stepped forward. Frequency 79er, full dispersal pattern, authorized now. The words weren't screamed. They were remembered, spoken not in regret, but with absolute tactical intent. The air fractured. Reality stuttered. The simulated riot exploded around him, bodies colliding, barriers buckling. The memory surged forward like a tidal wave. He walked into it. Each step was precise, intentional. Every decision wrong by design. Every action executed with perfect suicidal fidelity. He wasn't trying to win. He was corrupting the system from inside its own rules, and the system couldn't handle it. The simulation glitched violently. The crowd froze mid-motion. The lights shattered into jagged rays of white. The sound became a digital scream, feedback, failure, and then silence. The illusion collapsed. The basement reformed. Just a room again, clean, empty, whole. Conrad Creed was gone. He hadn't died. He had deleted himself. Adam Beck blinked in the quiet. Thea slumped to the floor, unconscious but breathing. Her chest rose and fell. Her eyes fluttered. The haunted stillness in her face was gone. He rushed to her side, heart pounding, pulse strong, skin warm, alive. He held her hand and looked around. The basement was whole. The quarantine had lifted. The creeping white was gone. But so was Creed. No trace, no score, no record. The event had no name in official records. The logs were clean, sanitized, but the survivors remembered. They called it the Quiet. One day, the enclave had been a battlefield of gods. The next, it was silent. Those who had claimed control of the simulation woke up on their lawns, confused and ashamed. Their scores fell. Their confidence never returned. They became hesitant, distant. Adam Beck became their anchor. He moved from house to house, checking vitals, offering comfort, rebuilding a community not through command but care. He had once despised Creed's rigidity. Now he understood it. He wasn't emulating the man, but he carried his ghost. He watched the perimeters. He scanned for anomalies. He didn't trust peace. Celia and Thea returned home. The basement remained sealed, a tomb or a shrine. Celia never spoke of Conrad again. Her grief was private, untouchable. She poured everything into Thea, who was back to herself, but different. Sometimes Adam caught her staring at blank walls, head tilted, listening. Once he found her drawing on the porch. The page was filled with geometric shapes, clean angles, complex patterns. At the center was a single chaotic scribble. "What's that?" Adam asked. She looked up, calm. "It's the glitch," she said. Later, while sorting the last of Conrad's effects, Adam found the tablet. He turned it on. Schematics, threat assessments, command logs, everyone cataloged. His own name, his wife's, Thea's. All rated, all judged. The final entry, Subject M threat level, absolute objective, system failure method, paradoxical self-termination. Adam stood on the porch, tablet in hand. The sky was engineered perfect blue. The grass shone. Birds chirped on a loop. Peace, polished and absolute. And underneath it, nothing. Conrad Creed's name was not in the system, not erased, denied. Adam finally understood. Creed hadn't built a tomb. He had built a crucible, and he had been the only one willing to burn.